Here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Dangerous Ideas. Thanks for joining me. Today, we'll get into Mamdani's bizarre meeting with Donald Trump. Was it useful or was it a dystopian clown show? Is it progress or is it just more of swirling around the drain? Let me know what you think in the comments. I have my own thoughts here. We'll get into in a second. Also going to get to there seems to be more of a push towards some sort of peace negotiations between Ukraine and Russia put forward by Donald Trump and Europe, and a lot of the pro-war faction of the U.S. ruling elite are freaking the F out. Keep it clean for the kids. Keep it clean for the kids. It is funny to watch them just they're totally unhinged behavior on like, what? The war can't end. Don't let it end. We're going to get into some of the details of that. Also, as if the COP meetings, the climate agenda meetings, were doing anything to begin with, COP has now backpedaled on climate action, basically offering no new plans. So we'll talk about that for a few minutes. I got a lot of stuff coming up, more on Israel. Yeah, just loads of stuff to bring you today. So please click thumbs up, click share, throw in a comment. Even if your comment is meaningless or dumb, it's still helpful. No one has ever posted a dumb comment, which I really like to see. But yeah, so let's do it. I'm not going to play much of the Trump Mamdani meeting, but I'll play a little bit, a couple of questions. You guys have probably seen snippets here and there. I got to be honest, when I first saw someone had posted like 2 seconds, it was like, or 3 seconds or something, on Instagram, I 100% thought it was AI. I was like, there is no way that I mean, maybe there's no way that Mamdani would agree to meet with him, but I was like, there's no way that lunatic wants Mamdani next to him in the White House. And yeah, not AI, actual IRL happened. And anyway, I'm sure you've seen these clips, but I'm just going to play. It's going to be very short, but here's the person asking, I think this is the one about calling him a fascist.
I've been very open about that.
He said I'm a democratic socialist. Anyway.
What's your reaction to that?
I have to be honest with you, I focused very little on resolutions. Frankly, I've been focusing... I understand. I think the focus is on the work at hand. I can tell you I am someone who is a democratic socialist. I've been very open about that. And I know there might be differences about ideology, but the place of agreement is the work that needs to be done to make New York City affordable. That's what I look forward to.
I love that admitting, he said I'm very open about that. Admitting you're a democratic socialist is apparently like admitting that you do some naughty time with your dogs out back. You have a couple of chocolate Labrador retrievers out back that you have some kinky time with. Like, I'm open about that. Like, I came out to my parents as a democratic socialist. It really is pathetic that we've had to couch things like that, but that is the propaganda of our world, is like, I admit that I'm a socialist. Anyway, I'm gonna play a little more, but that line that you just heard, mainly what I was working on is affordability for New Yorkers. I didn't count them, but I guarantee you he said it 70 times in the span of this like 20-minute discussion, because it was all he has got that politician aspect on lock. No matter what they ask, is it true that you firebombed the orphanage of blind children? I'm here to talk about the affordability in New York City. Why did you want to kill the blind children? Because I'd like to talk about the affordability in New York City. That's what matters to New Yorkers. And it's very similar to Bernie Sanders and talking about affordable health care. Now, it clearly means he's a politician. It also does speak to what he's working on, I guess. So he's not lying that is what he's focused on. But anyway.
I clarified your answer to Stephen Nelson. he asked about your comment calling the president a fascist, and your answer was, both President Trump and I have been clear about our positions and our views. Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about.
That's okay. You can just say
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Yeah.
It's easier.
Yes.
I have no idea what. There's a glitch in the video. I don't know. Maybe a glitch in the matrix. I don't know what two words were missing there. But you know, everyone's playing that clip, and he did an interview later where he said, "Yeah, like I still believe the president's a fascist." Now, here we get to kind of the crux of what this is and why Donald Trump would have this photo op standing smiling next to Mamdani. And we'll talk about why Mamdani would do it in a second. But fascism wants to take in and bear hug anything that it could find useful or anything that it could find threatening. Mamdani's popularity is threatening to Donald Trump, but it's also useful to Donald Trump. Donald Trump, I know some people think like, oh, this is his last term in office, so he's just doing whatever he wants, not even trying to get reelected. Bullshit. Donald Trump is obsessed with being loved at least of the people who voted for him. And he also is very much running for reelection. He views the midterm as another election chance for him to win more a year from now. He also very well might say he's going for a third term and that it's legal, and who knows what happens then. Who knows what kind of constitutional crisis happens at that point. But even if he doesn't run or attempt to run for a third term, he will put someone else forward. Either, JD Vance has all of the likability of a broken desk lamp, so I don't know that it's going to be JD Vance, but whoever Trump puts forward, maybe Kushner or his daughter or something, and says, this is the new person you should vote for, Trump wants that person to win. So he very much wants to continue to keep winning. I'm winning. I'm always winning. And so the idea that he doesn't want to be liked or something, he views this fascism in general will decide, can I gain more from pretending to like this person, or can I gain more from going straight at them? Now, initially, he obviously thought he could gain more by going at Mamdani, calling him a whatever jihadist and communist and everything. But then Mamdani won anyway, so it didn't work. And now at this point, and Mamdani won pretty handily, especially considering the amount of money being spent against him. But and so now at this point, Donald Trump views it as beneficial to be viewed as, by people who voted for Mamdani as, or even people across the country who are somewhat like Mamdani, as well. He's meeting him. Donald Trump is okay. He's actually meeting with him. And he views this as useful. Fascism views this as useful. So now, it very much could, how Trump is. It very much could change tomorrow. He could decide it's beneficial to send a National Guard in to invade New York City. That could absolutely happen. Then the other aspect of this is why Mamdani would want to do this. And I think you just have to look at it as a politician move. Mamdani knows that New York City has, the federal government sends billions of dollars to New York City, and they need those billions of dollars. He also doesn't want New York to be invaded by the National Guard. So he's viewing this as appeasing the fascist dictator in order to try and have some sort of ability to govern New York City. I'm not saying that was the right choice. I know that if I were in this position, I would fucking not want to be standing next to a fucking fascist smiling. But I also wouldn't have been willing to stand next to Joe Biden smiling either. But I also, on top of all that, I never would be in Mamdani's position, because in order to get into Mamdani's position, you have to do what he's doing, which is, and he did it throughout the election. And again, if you're talking electoralism, I'm not even criticizing the tactic of running around and saying affordability. What do you think of that? Pornhub and the people that are addicted to porn. Affordability. New Yorkers, affordability. That is how you win in our politics at the moment, or some of the time. But I think it's rather repulsive that our system has gotten to this point, and that it all, like, I don't know. There's so much to say about it. Like this also proves how little the parties mean. I also have said many times that you should meet with everyone. Like they love to say, "Oh my God, Donald Trump met with Putin," and it's like, isn't that what we should want in this world? Is that two giant powers in the world that could go to war and murder each other or kill humanity or are killing humanity with climate crisis, that they meet together and somehow come to some sort of agreement? Isn't that what we should want in this world? And hasn't that happened many times in the past? And most of the positive things that have come out of the two giant powers in the world have come at some sort of meetings. Like, that's what helps stop wars usually. So, I think you should meet with everyone. Now, should you do a giant smiling photo op like this? That's where I get a little uneasy, because I think this just puts a giant smiling stamp on fascism. But like I was saying, I would have felt the same if this were Joe Biden sitting in that chair. So, and I have said the same about various people acting all friendly and buddy when Joe Biden was in office. So, yeah. Should this be like, if you used to think Mamdani was awesome and now you think he's a clown, should that be how you view it? I don't know. I had said that there's a lot of positive things Mamdani has done, and he didn't back away. To his credit, he didn't back away from the word genocide. Someone else asked about, oh wait, is that the, yeah, actually that's the clip I'm about to play. So I'll play that clip. They asked him about essentially saying the U.S. and Israel are committing genocide. So,
York.
And you did a piece in all the 9 months around the world. I would like to ask Mr. Mamdani, you've accused the U.S. government of committing genocide in Gaza while President Trump was working on peace. Why that?
I've spoken about the Israeli government committing genocide, and I've spoken about our government funding it. And I shared with the president in our meeting about the concern that many New Yorkers have of wanting their tax dollars to go towards the benefit of New Yorkers and their ability to afford basic dignity. And what we see right now is we're in the 9th consecutive year of more than 100,000 school children being homeless in our city. And there's a desperate need not only for...
And move on to affordability. And affordability. So yeah, he did that many times. Also, do you like that little sleight of word, where he goes, do you think the U.S. and Israel are committing genocide? He goes, I've said Israel's committing genocide, and I've said the U.S. is funding it. Well, doesn't that pretty much mean the U.S. is committing genocide? If you're funding and harming a genocide, are you not committing said genocide? So interesting. Sleight of word there by Mamdani. You could call these things sleazy. You could call these things tactical. I suppose it depends on your viewpoint. I often like to go off of actions. And I think it'll very much depend on whether Mamdani's actions start to change so that he can make Trump happy. And it'll, by the way, for those of you that haven't really been paying attention to this, Trump is dealing with the other side flipping the fuck out. That Trump would meet with a jihadist communist. It's fucking crazy. So, yeah. But I think it mainly is just the U.S. Imperial Clown Show being the Imperial Clown Show. And I don't think we're so far seeing a lot of difference from Mamdani, but I think you got to go off of actions. Standing there for a photo op is an action, but mainly we have to go off of actions that we see as mayor of New York. And I certainly understand and see the point of the people saying that this just gives a giant smiling face to fascism. Like, oh, we'll stand next to him and act like, hey! I understand that, and I would have felt the same with Biden, whereas some people only think it's because of Trump. You shouldn't stand next to Trump and smile, but you can stand next to any other unhinged imperial rulers of the United States and smile next to them, and that's fine. But yeah. So I think that's all you really got from that bizarre meeting that I totally thought was AI. I was like, there's no way this is real. But Trump is a clever political player, and he, at the moment, thinks it'll benefit him to look a little bit moderate, at least willing to talk to one of the most popular politicians in America right now, Zoran Mamdani. Okay, let's get to this peace plan between that Ukraine hates, that Trump has put forward between Russia and Ukraine. Europe is flipping the fuck out. They don't want it to happen. Boris Johnson has already come running forward saying that absolutely no peace should ever happen. And of course, Boris Johnson was the man who went to sink the peace deal that was about to be signed 1 month into this conflict that is now coming up on 3 years old. So he has the blood of hundreds of thousands on his hands. I wonder if his hands are sticky at all. Do you think he has to wash them, or how do you think that works? Here is some of what the peace plan that Trump has put forward calls for. No NATO membership. That's at the top of the list, which is also like a large part of the reason that Russia went to war. The U.S. was working towards putting Ukraine into NATO, which is a war-making pact. You have to understand what NATO is. NATO is a war-making pact. It is a group of countries saying we will all go to war together. And the NATO and the U.S. were working to put as many former Soviet bloc countries into this pro-war pact, which is basically claiming them to some degree. It is claiming them as part of the really the U.S. empire, because I would say Europe is now a vassal state largely. So, and by the way, this is the list of what's in the plan according to Ukrainian Canadian professor of political science Ivan Kachanovitsky. And anyway, number 2 on the list is EU membership. So no NATO membership, but Ukraine could join the EU. I guess would be the idea. $100 billion. Next up, $100 billion in frozen assets, because they've frozen Russian assets, right? Which also set a big example for how the U.S. and the West can steal the money of any nation they want to if you are part of the SWIFT banking system, if you are part of that Western-led banking system. And anyway, so they have $100 billion of frozen Russian assets. And the plan would give that $100 billion to Ukraine's reconstruction. So $100 billion stolen from Russia, given to Ukraine. Next up, lifting the sanctions and G8 membership for Russia. So Russia would be back in the G8 and the sanctions would be lifted. And these sanctions were part of, they were part of the reason that the U.S. manufactured this war in the first place, was to try and sanction Russia into oblivion. It largely has not worked, but it has cut off most Russian ties with Europe. That is a big, one of the big winners that the U.S. has had in this proxy war is, yeah, sure, they had to kill a few 100,000 Ukrainians, but they got to disconnect Russia economically from Europe. So that's really exciting. I mean, who cares about kids dying, Crimea, Donetsk, and Luhansk are recognized as Russian territory. That's largely the area that is Russian culturally. Many people there speak Russian. Even prior to the 2022 invasion, Nazis and pro-Ukraine forces were murdering people in those regions because they were too Russian, because they were speaking Russian. This also speaks to how garbage the idea nation states are. I think nation states are largely a brain parasite. So, if you want to be somewhere and say, I feel Russian today, then you should be able to do that. It's your brain. Feel however you want. If you want to say, I feel totally American, then okay, feel that. What's it matter where someone made up a dumb border and changed it, depending on whatever. Oh, the river moved, so now the border's there. oh, somebody, fought over this. So we're moving the border there. Kherson and, oh God, I can't pronounce this. Zaporizhia are frozen along the current line of contact. From the part of Donetsk Oblast currently controlled by Kiev, Ukrainian troops are withdrawn. This territory receives international recognition as Russian and is declared a demilitarized zone under Russian control. Both sides undertake not to change borders by force. NATO does not deploy troops in Ukraine. NATO fighter aircraft are stationed in Poland. Russian legally enshrines a policy of non-aggression towards Ukraine and Europe. Let's see if I should go through all these. The U.S. and Europe launch a major investment package for the reconstruction of Ukraine. Yeah, an investment package, and at the same time force them to sign a deal that gives up whatever it was, like $500 billion of rare earth minerals. So we'll help you reconstruct yourselves as we steal all your rare earths. And another point that is obviously not in this peace agreement, not even mentioned in this peace agreement, is that more land in Ukraine has been bought up by corporate interests since this war began than has been lost to Russia. So Russia has gained some Ukrainian land, right, during the fighting. More land has been sold to international corporate interests, led by BlackRock. And so in that way, really, the U.S. and multinationals have actually invaded Ukraine more than Russia has. But that's not in the peace plan. That's not part of the peace plan. No, couldn't be. The remaining frozen Russian assets are directed to joint American-Russian projects. Long-term economic cooperation between the U.S. and Russia. Oh, yeah, I wonder how long we're going to stick to that. All-for-all prisoner exchange. Restart of the nuclear power plant and electricity split 50-50. The U.S. assists in restoring Ukraine's gas infrastructure. Oh, yeah? What about the Nord Stream? You going to fix that? You going to fix the Nord Stream, U.S.? Huh? You didn't have any role in that, did you? No. Multi-billion-dollar oil pipeline created the largest single dose of global warming emissions ever added to the atmosphere in one hit. You gonna fix that? The U.S. assists in elections in Ukraine are held 100 days after the agreement is signed. Zelensky. 100 days. Clock is ticking. Because I think Zelensky knows that once he's out of office, like, there's not going to be anyone defending him from what comes after him. And as I mentioned in the last live stream, we've seen this happen to former U.S. allies. They thought the U.S. had their back. Oh, yeah? Gaddafi, Saddam Hussein, Noriega. The list goes on. Full amnesty for all participants in the war. The agreement's legally binding. Enforcement's carried out by a peace council chaired by Donald Trump. Oh, that'll be great. In the event of violation by Russia, sanctions are reimposed. Event of violation of Ukraine, the U.S. and Europe withdraw security guarantees immediately upon signature. Ceasefire and withdrawal to the agreed positions. This sounds like just about whenever this war ends, whenever this proxy war that the U.S. created, funded, armed, and manufactured, whenever it ends, I guarantee you the deal will look just about like this. There might be some slight tinkering on the edges, but it'll look just about like this. And the many of us were saying this from day one. This thing, whenever it ends, is going to end at a peace table, and there's going to be an agreement, and it's going to look a lot like this. And here we are with Trump putting this forward. And of course, Boris Johnson, Europe, freaking the fuck out. This is from The Dissident. Boris Johnson says the UK should block a peace deal in Ukraine, just as he did in April of 2022. And he's trying to do it again. Here's from Aaron Mate. Give you a little more analysis. By the way, New York Times, Washington Post, all these mainstream U.S. outlets, I'm sure CNN, Fox, well, maybe not Fox News because they like Donald Trump, but CNN, I'm sure, MSNBC, are just hair on fire saying Donald Trump's doing what Russia wants. Yeah, what do you want? You just want Ukrainians to die forever. Okay, awesome. Love it. I love that for you. Aaron Monte, everyone shrieking that the new U.S. peace plan betrays Ukraine, has in fact betrayed Ukraine. He means all the people saying that are betraying Ukraine by exploiting its division, backing a coup, sabotaging reasonable diplomatic opportunities, and using it to bleed Russia. Zelensky said something similar back in March of 2022. This was the month that Russia invaded Ukraine. Zelensky said, there are those in the West who don't mind a long war because it would mean exhausting Russia, even if this means the demise of Ukraine and comes at the cost of Ukrainian lives. Yeah, funny, Zelensky. You have done exactly that. You have fed exactly into that plan. And now we've seen this proxy war go on for almost 3 years. Here's an interesting tidbit that I've heard barely anyone mention, and this is from Craig Murray, the well-known British diplomat who has been, he was even imprisoned by the UK. Did I say US diplomat? UK diplomat. Basically for just being awesome, for calling out empire and being pro-Palestine and everything else. Anyway, Craig Murray says, this is from the Wall Street Journal, that the big pushback from Ukraine on the Trump peace plan behind closed doors is not against loss of territory. It's against an audit of the tens of billions of disappeared dollars of Western aid. And I had done segments, I mean, it was a while ago, but segments on this missing aid. Literally billions of dollars went missing. So, and here's the thing, the CIA and the US knew that some of the aid would go missing, but apparently so much of the US and Western aid was going missing that they stepped in and said, look, we know you're going to steal some of it, but could you ease it back a little? Could you decrease the amount you're stealing? We get it. You're going to skim off the top, but don't skim off the middle, okay? You're just taking too much. Anyway, this is from Wall Street Journal. A senior U.S. official said that Ukraine significantly changed one of the 28 points in the version that appeared online. In an apparent move to expose alleged corruption, the original draft had called for an audit of all international aid Ukraine had received. The language was changed to say all parties will receive full amnesty for their actions during the war. Umerov, in his statement Friday, denied that Ukraine had altered the provision. Yeah, right. So, Craig Murray is talking about how, in reality, the thing that was most upsetting to Ukrainians was that their criminal theft of billions of dollars of aid might become exposed. But so, you know, the ruling interests in UK and US and Ukraine, they might succeed in holding this thing off for a while, but at the end of the day, it's gonna look a lot like this. The peace plan is not going to change that much. It's going to look pretty similar. I'd be shocked if it didn't. Okay, everyone click, 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 click. Sorry, I got stuck in a glitch there. Click thumbs up, and I'd love it if you'd hit subscribe, even though, God, are we suppressed on YouTube? We are more... I don't know what I did. Like, I was already suppressed on YouTube, so I don't know what it was. Like, a couple months ago, they were like, no, this is... Yeah, he's 95% of all views he'd ever get, we're making sure don't happen, but that's still too much. So they have just pummeled this channel. So still click subscribe. Who knows? Maybe it'll work. Click all alerts, click the bell. But that is why the suppression, everything is why I'm telling everybody, if my channel may very well get banned soon. I don't know. But it's why I'm telling everybody to subscribe on Substack. It's important to follow my stuff in multiple channels because this is, it already has 95% disappeared on a lot of these platforms. I mean, Twitter, barely anyone sees my stuff. YouTube, barely anyone sees it. Instagram, similar. So Substack and my locals page, those are the two things. Basically, Substack is just for if you want to subscribe and basically get an email about my stuff, my work, my columns, etc. And then locals page, leecamp.net, is if you want to be part of the community. If you want to join the community, support my show, be in the chat of the community members during the live streams. I often do extra segments for people at locals, all those things. That's at leecamp.net. It'd be awesome if you could subscribe to both. I understand if you can't do the paying subscription on both necessarily, but that would be amazing. And yeah, so Real Lee Camp on Substack. One word, Real Lee Camp. The full website is reallycamp.substack.com. I just put up a new column today. Actually, I might end up talking about it if we have time. I don't know that we'll have time, but debunking the New York Times anti-Venezuela garbage is my latest column. Went up today. Totally free to read. reallycamp.substack.com. I beg you, if you at all want to keep in touch and hear about my work, that's one of the places to do it. The other one is leecamp.net, my locals page. Honestly, it's the people at locals and a few subscribers at Substack that make this show, and some remaining subscribers at Patreon that make this show possible. So, I'm hanging in there because of those things. So thank you. Fiery Topaz says it was a great, wrong one, says it was a great read, the new column. So check it out. Substack, Really Camp. I also, as long as I'm doing the promos right now, let me throw in here that I am performing live in New York City, December 12th. Cobra Club. Tickets at tinyurl.com/Lee Cobra Club. Me, John F. O'Donnell from Redacted Tonight. Anders Lee from Redacted Tonight. Come see a live show. IRL, in person, man. Remember back when we'd see each other, we'd connect, and like our eyes would meet, and like there'd be a real thing, like, hey, we're both human. You remember those days? That was crazy back when we used to do that. So yeah, that is in Brooklyn. Yes, Brooklyn, and tinyurl.com/Lee Cobra Club. One word. All right, let's keep going. And I'm going to play, I think, a clip of the new Unredacted Tonight that just aired yesterday. No, did not air yesterday. Absolutely did not air yesterday. Aired Thursday. But and I should throw in here, because I always forget to do this, I am not going to be live streaming Wednesday or Friday due to the unnamed holiday that we all celebrate how we see fit. Those of you not in the United States, there's some sort of holiday coming up. So Wednesday and Friday, I'm not live streaming. There's also no Unredacted Tonight this week. However, I will be putting up columns on Substack, so there will still be content coming out, just not live stream content. All right, let's keep going. Quick note on the COP summit. COP30 backpedals on climate action. It offers no new plans to cut fossil fuels. The UN's climate conference failed to produce a roadmap to stop global warming. Many of us had said that COP has been a cop-out for years. We're at COP30. We've been doing this bullshit for 30 years. Nothing has really slowed down. And the areas where emissions have slowed down to some degree largely comes to some switch to sustainable energies, and mainly from China. And I know people will go, China's the biggest producer of emissions in the world. Per capita, it is like 1 million times less than the United States. It just so happens that China has 1.4 billion people. So per capita, China's nowhere near the emissions of the United States. Also, if you go back over the past, many decades, China's only caught up to us recently. We've been pumping out global warming emission for years and years. Most of climate change and climate crisis and the death we're seeing of the natural world on this planet is thanks to the United States. And if you had to list an entity within the United States, the U.S. military. Not just because it decimates whole societies, which then have to rebuild, and the amount of emissions and waste and environmental destruction that is just, I don't even think people have tried to judge what level that is. But you should check out Abby Martin's new film all about just how devastating. The U.S. military puts off more emissions than 140 countries. 140 countries. When you calculate their emissions each year, each one of them is less than just the U.S. military. It is crazy, the amount of disgusting natural destruction that is perpetrated by our U.S. military. Thank you, Dan, for supporting the show. Goddamn right. But here's one more note on climate crisis. And by the way, if you want to see my debunking, it was pretty harsh. So we'll call it a tearing apart. We'll call it a rip. We'll call it a shredding limb from limb of Joe Rogan's, anti-climate change garbage. Specifically, he apparently on 6-7 different episodes, and one of them in front of Bernie Sanders, he pointed to a Washington Post article where literally Joe Rogan has no idea what the article says. And literally, and yes, I'm using that word accurately, literally, he thinks the article says the opposite of what it fucking says. He is so dumb on this topic that he points to an article and says, there, we don't have climate change. And that is not at all what the article says. And if you read the article, it says, we are fucked. That's what it says, if you actually read the article. But why would he do that? Why would he? I think just because it feels good, right? To not read something and just think, it's just nice. It just feels good. It just feels nice and good. All right. I wanted to highlight this real quick. Latest news, the world is headed to 2.6 degrees Celsius warming as countries miss their climate goals. Also, it's only like 14 countries out of all of them. So we got like 96 countries. Only 14 have done, like, even submitted a proposal to the latest COP conference to explain how they'd be, decreasing their emissions. World headed for 2.6 degrees warming. And by the way, a lot of people said 2 degrees warming would be pretty catastrophic. And it's proving pretty catastrophic. For those of you who think, it hasn't been that big a deal, there are hundreds of millions of climate refugees today. Hundreds of millions of people around this planet have moved or are fleeing or have seen their houses float down a fucking river. That's today. So what do you mean? The world remains on course for a disastrous 2.6 degrees Celsius. Also, I'll throw in here, the Earth has already breached 7 of 9 planetary boundaries. Despite their pledges, governments' new emission-cutting plans submitted ahead of COP30 climate summit in Brazil have failed to significantly curb dangerous global warming for the 4th straight year. The report said that the 2035 nationally determined contributions so far submitted don't change the dial in terms of keeping warming to 1.5. This level of warming will surpass the limits set by the 2015 Paris climate, because as I've said many times, because a lot of people who didn't, who were anti-Trump but pro-Biden. I was anti the whole shitstorm. But we're anti-Trump but pro-Biden. A lot of them said, well, you got to vote for Biden because of the climate crisis. And it's like, yeah, Trump did take us out of the Paris Climate Agreement. However, the Paris Climate Agreement meant fucking nothing. As this article is saying, it has changed nothing. It has done nothing. It would literally, there are more signs for fucking oil companies and shit at the COP conferences than there are for any kind of green groups or green energy. It was created, or at least co-opted, by big banks and big oil from just about day 1, maybe day 2. I think they showed up day 2, really. According to new data from the Global Carbon Project, global carbon dioxide emissions from fossil fuels and cement are projected to increase by 1.1% in 2025, reaching 38 billion tons, which is a record. A decline in land use emissions means the global CO2 emissions 2025 are expected to stay roughly the same as 2024. Well, that's nice to hear. The report found that the land carbon sink, the part of human-caused CO2 emissions absorbed by plants and soils has recovered to its pre-El Nino levels after 2 unusually weak years. But as we've seen, the ocean is absorbing a lot of the heat, and the natural currents of the ocean are becoming weaker, and many scientists fear that they could stop, that the Atlantic currents could stop going the way they are, and the ramifications would be really fast. Like over a span of weeks and months, you'd see the temperatures changing drastically around the world, because those currents through the entire Atlantic take the cold water from way up north and bring it around to the world. And if that shit stops, things get ugly real fast. Like real fast. And part of what's also causing them to weaken is the amount of fresh water that's being dumped into the oceans by the melting glaciers that are melting at unprecedented rates. Honestly, the idea that there's still idiots out there that I honestly think it's just that it makes them feel good. It's like, I feel good because I say climate change is not happening, and so it makes things better for me. And I know that's how all of them talk, because I've spoken to all of them. But it's just cognitive dissonance. It's like, wow, it'd be really bad for my life and for humankind in general if this were true. So therefore, false. Okay, let's keep going. Let's get to just a couple of things about Israel. Because I cover Israel like every fucking day, I don't really feel the need to go through it all every time. So instead, sometimes I just bring you a couple little things I think you should take note of. Here is Mohammed Safa, is executive director at PVA English, main representative of the United Nations for ECOSOC, and accredited UN Geneva office. And anyway, he's great to follow on Twitter, because he's always posting good stuff, important stuff on Israel and Palestine. And anyway, he says he posted this video, which is the best drone footage I've seen, most extensive drone footage of the severe destruction of Gaza. But he posted it and said, this is why they haven't allowed journalists in Gaza, and why they've murdered 200 some journalists, the most murdered in any conflict ever. And for those of you listening to the podcast, there's not a building standing that isn't utterly decimated, pancaked. I'm not saying it didn't exist. I don't go searching for drone footage of Gaza, but this is the most kind of extensive drone footage I've seen of just how decimated Gaza is. And it also just speaks to how this is a genocide. Like, this is not any debate about like, oh, they're trying to find Hamas or hit Hamas, just is gone, is wiped away the moment you see this footage. There is clearly zero effort to try and hit specific targets. This is just decimating all of Gaza. That is all it is. So I wanted to show you that footage. And, the genocide continues. It's not over. Israel understands that it's better for their propaganda to like have it the way it is now, where most media outlets are covering it far less than when Israel was bombing endlessly. But they're trying to, they've already ethnically cleansed 58% of Gaza, and they're trying to kill the remaining people with starvation. A tiny percentage of the number of needed trucks actually make it in to the places where people live. But here's something you won't get from mainstream media. This is a video of thousands of Jews that traveled to occupied Palestine meaning Israel, to protest Zionism. These are, and I've featured videos by them before, but these are, I don't know if they appreciate the term sect, but this is a certain group of Judaism, a very religious Jews. Some rabbis have been from their groups have been contacting me on Twitter, and sometimes I'll play their videos. But they are very anti-Israel. They're anti-Zionism. They're anti-genocide, and they're very outspoken on it. I'll play a little of the volume. Anyway, for those of you who listen to the podcast, it's literally thousands of Orthodox Jews that are anti-Zionism, anti-Israel. They understand, and they've said quite clearly that Israel actually harms Jews because they make the world think that all Jews are Israel. They make the world think that that all Jews support genocide, which is not true, and they create anti-Semitism. They create harm to Jews. And these people understand that, and they have been very outspoken about it. But you won't get that in the mainstream media, will ya? Or Israeli media, will ya? And here's just a fun tidbit. Alan McLeod posted this. I mean, not fun in what it reveals, but fun in that it shows you what Israel is. Alan McLeod decided to repost this. This is from 2021. So this is pre-genocide, or this version of the genocide. But this headline, tell me you can read this and not initially think it's fake. A new report in Israel revealed that 100% of Thai agricultural workers in Israel were sexually assaulted. 100%. To me, that says a lot of what type of experiment Israel's involved in. This is back in 2021. It's from the Business and Human Rights Resource Center. They said every Thai foreign worker that they spoke to has been sexually abused in Israel. Every foreign agricultural worker was sexually assaulted in Israel, according to a new report presented to the Knesset, that's the Israeli parliament, Special Committee on Foreign Workers. Shocking levels of abuse. Yeah, I'd say. Shocking levels of abuse were uncovered by the report, whose authors issued a warning that the state of Israel has abandoned these women. Abandoned or assaulted? I don't know if abandoned is right. Compiled by immigration experts, the report found that 100% of foreign agricultural workers were sexually assaulted. Out of the 654 Thai foreign workers questioned, all of them said they'd been sexually assaulted. I love how this article tries to soften it slightly by saying that they'd been exposed to sexual assault. Yeah, that is sexually assaulted. And here's the thing. So if you question 654 and you find it's 100%, then you kind of know it's probably close to 100% for all of the Thai workers. But let's give the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, well, they missed a few that weren't sexually assaulted. So the real number is 90%. Let's say the real number is 90%. We're giving them the benefit of the doubt. You know the number of Thai migrant workers there at this time, at the time when this report came out? 25,000. So 90% of 25,000 is some crazy number that I can't do in my head. It is a lot of fucking sexual assault. And that's assuming it's not 100% of all 25,000. Very well could be. And in which case I can even I can do that math. It's 25,000 sexually assaulted victims. But to me, that says something about what Israel is. To me, that doesn't just say something about Thai workers. It doesn't just say something about those who employ Thai workers. To me, that says something about what Israel is. If you create a genocidal colonizer apartheid state, it tends to be owned and run and populated by not great people. And again, in case you need me to keep saying this, I'm not saying Jews, I'm saying Israelis. It's a different thing. There's millions of us who are not Israelis. There are millions of anti-Zionist Jews, some of which I showed just a moment ago singing in a fucking arena. There are millions of pro-Zionism evangelicals. So get your terms straight. Thank you, Dan, for supporting the show again. Much love. Keep fighting. Okay, before I run out of time, and I am going to bring an extra segment, at least one extra segment, maybe more, at least one extra segment to those of you at locals, leecamp.net. Before I do that, though, I want to play a brief clip from Unredacted tonight. This is the one that aired on Thursday, so you can still watch it if you want, and I'm just going to show a couple of minutes of it. Basically, the most of it, I ripped apart Trump's trade deal with China and explained why China, what would be the technical economics term, has America by the balls. Yes, I believe that was first put forward by Keynes, what it's like to have a country by the balls. Anyway, here we go. I'll come back after this and switch things over. China breakthrough allows Trump to claim a win. He said he had an amazing meeting with Xi Jinping, rating it a 12 on a scale of 1 to 10. He said agreements were reached on access to Chinese critical mineral supplies, limiting fentanyl precursor exports and purchase of U.S. soybeans. Wow, sounds like a huge win. Go Trump. Let's not mention the part about how China had already stopped fentanyl precursor exports. They agreed to buy less soybeans than they did a year ago. And they agreed to give access to their minerals, which we already had access to until Trump stuck his greasy tiny hands into every trade agreement. So basically, we're back to where we were a year ago. Do I have that right? I have that? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I have that right. We're back to where we were a year ago with China, but a lot of random Americans got in the process. Okay. Got it. Awesome. Trump's like a tsunami. You know, he comes through, a bunch of people die or lose their house or watch their cat float away on a coconut or some shit. And then at the end, he's gone, but nothing has gotten better. It's all worse. Awesome. But at least during the meeting, Trump got to hold President Xi's hand for a long time. Look at that. That's great. You can tell Xi is just thrilled to be there. He looks like a girl who got guilted into going to prom with her nerdy stalker. Like, oh, okay, I'll go with you, but can you stop hanging around the bathroom after gym class? It's really creepy. While other countries caved to Trump's tariff insanity, China was basically the only one strong enough to stand its ground. Trump thought he could give China the economic equivalent of a nuclear strike. He increased tariffs an additional 145%. But rather than backing down, Beijing responded by restricting the export of rare earth metals and magnets to the U.S. At that point, Washington... What's the economics term where it comes shat themselves? Yeah, they shat themselves, and Washington then came to the table. Why? Because rare earth minerals are in just about anything you turn on and off, except your wife and your mistress and your mister and the one you don't tell your mistress about, but your wife is kind of into it. Okay. Let's wrap up that little clip there. But if you want to watch the full thing, it's at leecamp.com/unredacted or just on my YouTube channel. Just click the videos tab and it's near the top. Okay, I am going to go do an extra segment for everybody at Locals and Patreon. So if you are at Locals and Patreon, do not turn it off. Hang in there. For everyone else, I bid you farewell. But I have a new column over at Substack. I will not have a live stream Wednesday or Friday because of the holiday. And there'll be no Unredacted Tonight this week. So, you'll have to go like upwards of 4 days without me. And I don't know how you do it, honestly. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. I'm not saying. But I will have columns coming out and you could catch up on old episodes of Unredacted. And I'll be back a week from today for new live streams. So everybody who's not at Locals, if you want to join Locals, by the way, you can get a free month and join up at localsleecamp.net. Just use the promo code LeeCampFree, all one word. Join up and catch our extra segments. We're going to talk about new filings showing Meta Facebook allows people who are sex trafficking a mere 17 violations before they ban their account. Talk about that and much more. So join us over there, LeeCamp.net or patreon.com/LeeCamp. And to those of you not there, I will see you Monday. Okay, everyone at Locals, thanks for hanging in there with me and Patreon. And just give me a second to switch things over.